The topic
Yes.
is on physician aid in dying for physician-assisted suicide. Who raises the issue is really the topic. Who raises the issue?
Correct. When you're in a medical environment, Michael, who are you supposed to direct that question to?
Well, the reason I brought this up is that it's come up a couple of times with families that the patient is dying and the family is saying that someone should have brought the issue up. Somebody should have said, oh, this is an option for you. And each time that that's happened, I've said to the family, I said, well, what criteria should you think that I use to decide who gets that? Or should I just use it with everybody? He said, oh, you should tell everybody. And I said, if you're not somebody that is interested in that information,
You're offended.
How might you feel? You would feel offended, exactly. So,
and if you're Catholic, that might be a major issue. That might cause a schism in the relationship with the medical professional.
Yeah, the issue comes up frequently enough in my practice that I don't think that any of the healthcare professionals should raise the issue unless they have been tipped off by the patient.
Okay.
So the patient has to make a comment or make a statement that this is something that they're interested in discussing or exploring, because I think there's too much risk of offending somebody who's not interested in talking about that at all. Sometimes people don't want to hear about hospice. But the truth of the matter is that hospice isn't something that we're starting so that we can end your life.
Well, Michael, it's interesting because you made the statement that the family members will bring it up. Why wasn't this offered to my loved one? And I find that interesting because if the patient unless the patient's brought it up with the family member, I would have liked to have had that option, or I'm interested in having the option, and no one did anything with it. No one on their behalf, or they did not pursue.
No, exactly. I think that there's a couple of reasons why this comes up for families is because by the time that the conversation happens, it's too late.
Exactly.
By the time that they start exploring this, it's too late for them to go through the process.
Right.
Now that says something in and of itself as a society that
it's a deterrent, isn't it?
It completely is.
Yes.
But I don't think that the people who wanted a deterrent.
No, I don't think they did either. And I think they wanted earlier, Michael. I mean, when you have someone who knows that their disease is hopeless, that they will and how they will die because our society has made such a point of telling them and letting them know. Huntington's disease, ALS, Alzheimer's, any of the neurological progressional problems that we can find ourselves in. You want to be able to do that probably fairly early after you've been diagnosed, because the fear would drive that.
Well,
whether they act on it or
of course.
not, but they want the information.
I think that if you're a person who believes that this is your right, that is exactly what you should do. Absolutely, you should have conversations with people. You should tell people this is something that you're interested in doing at some point in time, because you have to be terminally ill in order to qualify.
I know, Michael,
but the fact is that you should have a conversation.
All you want at that point is the information, and you want clear, direct information. Whether or not you act on it, whether or not you proceed with it, is
all right.
Down the line.
All right, sister. People have a hard time with silence. They're going to be able to do this?
No, they're not.
Oh, good Lord.
They're not.
Please.
I know.
As you have already figured out, Gail is really fine with physician-assisted suicide. She's okay with that. She doesn't necessarily like how the language is and the process and all that stuff. I struggle with this more than she does because I think that there is another way, and there's other options that can give people the same outcome without being so dramatic about that. But truly, if you want to have some control, and that's the issue, is control. Because
exactly.
that's always been what finally comes up with people that I've talked to about this, is that they want to decide the timing.
Yes.
They want to say, you know what, it's now, I'm done, let's bring it on. Sometimes patients think I have the drugs in my car, which one would be illegal, and two, if they knew me, they would know how far away from the truth that was.
I would have the drugs in my car.
But clearly, if this is something that is important to you,
yes,
you really should begin having conversations about it with your physician, who's going to have a hard time with you.
Yeah,
when talking
terrible.
about this, because they already struggle with putting people on hospice, and so the truth of the matter is that you're going to have to make an effort to have this conversation.
Yes, you are going to have to pursue it. There is no one is going to come in and rescue you from the language and
I feel very strongly about the fact that when families say you Michael should have brought this up.
Yes.
I'm not going to do that. I don't see there's so much downside to doing that. There are some families that would fire you. They would storm out of the room. They would be so angry with you for bringing this up. How dare you? And I get it.
Yeah.
There's families that they have the same, like I said, they have the same reaction to hospice, or and now they have the same reaction to palliative care because they think that's hospice too. But I think that there's some value in what we've said, which is, you need to start this process way before you need it.
Right. You need to start the process at diagnosis. And if you are an individual who needs information, who needs to stay in control, who just has their own freedoms that they want to have the right to have, then you've got to pursue it. Nobody is going to offer you the pamphlet on how to do this.
No, well, actually,
hell, we do in the book, but
the reality is that if they begin having these conversations early enough, they will be put in touch with people who can actually help them with the process.
Okay.
Now, I'm hopeful that the people that help you with the process also are honest with you about the process, because it is not something that is sign a couple of documents and you get your drugs. Yeah. It is a fairly lengthy process, and when you're quite ill, it's not easy to go through this process. That's
why I'm saying, Michael, from diagnosis, because generally from diagnosis you're still capable of handling your own affairs. Most people are.
The whole process of dying, one of the things that we have used as a byline for the book is that you should read it before you need it.
Right.
A lot of the people who have purchased the book thinking that they were going to give it to a family member who was dying or who was in that process, who'd been diagnosed with something serious, they thought that person was going to read it. Well, no, it's too late. It's too late frequently for them.
Yes.
And if you're saying, well, how do we get this information in people's hands sooner? It's in the family's hands now.
Yeah.
Because if you've read the book, because your family member can't read the book, one, you're possibly going to incorporate some of the thoughts and some of the things that you've learned in the book, not just for the future.
For yourself.
Yeah. Well,
not for other members of your family. You have to think about it in relationship to you as the individual. Yeah. It angers me that people buy it and hand it off. They don't even thumb through it. Well, this isn't for me yet. Yeah. The person's 93 years old and they're saying, well, I don't need it yet. Well, they're going to make it to 120?
I think that most 93-year-olds or 95-year-olds who are alert and with it and fully, cognizant, actually can have conversations surrounding end of life that actually are thoughtful, that are very specific to them in terms of how they wish to be cared for.
Yes.
And we have an opportunity for someone who is alert and with it at 95 to help them really have some control over this process.
And have good quality.
And absolutely good quality of life, because at the end of the day, that's what we're really selling. We're selling good quality of life. Because when people decide that it's no longer good, they really want to know, how is it going to end?
And how can I get out of here?
You know, and I certainly understand people's desire to have physician assisted suicide. See, most people don't want me to call it physician assisted suicide, because they say that, well, the person's no longer committing suicide if the physician's doing this, so they call it physician aid in dying.
I have stated this in previous videos, but the fact of the matter is, the language right now, as the bill stands, it's physician assisted suicide. You want to, make it more palatable by calling it aid in dying.
Well,
change the language.
Yeah.
Change the language.
And that's going to take some time. But one of the things that I really I bristle over is when they refer to it as death with dignity.
Oh, yeah, that one's good too.
Because death with dignity does not mean physician assisted suicide.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, people could call it what they want to call it, but the truth of the matter is that death with dignity is what a lot of us are already doing as hospice providers and providing good end of life care.
Yeah.
So
you're getting the best care you possibly can if you have good communication with your medical community.
And I've met with the diocese in Los Angeles and had talked to people about what is really valuable to educate people about is the importance of good medical care. Mm-hmm. And what does good medical care look like, and be able to define that for you.
If we should do this in the next video, Michael, but we have got a problem right now with good quality of medical care because it's too expensive. We don't have the people. There are so many barriers now that people need to understand exactly what's going to happen. It can no longer be a fantasy.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gail. I think we should say this for
the next video,
one, because otherwise we're going to talk forever.
I know.
But anyhow.